I'm here with Jack. Jack is a 7-year-old Shih Tzu. And in this video, we're going to go over some tips that you can use if you have a dog that maybe doesn't always listen to you or interact with you, or might be a little grumbly with you at times. Jack is part of a blended family, and one of the other partners is not necessarily a dog person to begin with. And so Jack, 3 times over the last several years, has kind of guarded or had a little controlling behavior around him. So it seems to have happened so sporadically. I think it was just, I'm going to chalk it up to maybe bad days. But it also could be related to that one of the guardians is not being a dog person, doesn't probably interact with Jack as much as the other one does, who is very much a dog person, obviously. So what I like to do is I like to kind of create a positive association, and so they're doing things together. Walks is one of the first things that I recommend because dogs usually really like the walk. Now, what I would do for the guardian that is for this guardian that that's not a normal dog person is have them get a treat pouch like this. This is a mini treat pouch from PetSafe. Load it up with treats so you don't have them in your pocket. Otherwise, you'll forget and you'll have weird treat pocket mold after you do your laundry. So you saw that he's very interested. He can smell the treats. Now I'm loaded. I could be giving him treats at any time. I better be on my good behavior. I'm more motivated to listen to him because he might be giving me a treat. And so basically going for a short walk, and for him, 10 minutes is too long of a walk for him. So I would just try to keep it maybe like a 3 to 5 minute walk. It doesn't have to be a super long walk. Let him sniff as much as he wants. Remember, sniffing, as long as it's safe to do so. For dogs, they burn more energy on a walk by sniffing than they do from walking. So if we do that, that's a nice way to create a communal positive experience. Something else we could do is we went over a hand targeting exercise. Target. Yes. So playing a little bit of that game every once in a while. I would recommend you that in the guardian that is not a dog person, have some of these in his desk at all times. I guess I let the cat out of the bag. It's a male. But basically, have these in your bag and burp all the air out of it. So if you do get, and I'm going to talk about this at the end, but this is something you could do at the end if he does get one of those guarding behaviors like he did before. But every once in a while, just stop, touch, yep, touch. Yes, I'm asking him to do something. When he does what I ask him to do, there's something good for him. And if he doesn't want to do it, I'm not going to push it. If I say touch and he doesn't want it, that's fine. I go back to working. And then after a while, he's like, why didn't I do that? I touched, I got a treat. So this is a nice little activity. There's other activities, little lessons you can teach your dog that are really easy, like teaching him how to do a circle. Yes. You go both ways? Yes. So I call this one hurricane. Or what you can call it, whatever you want, tornado or spin or whatever. But teaching him something like this is a great way. So if he's kind of, you don't know how he's thinking, you give him something else to do that he's practiced when he's in a good mood and he likes doing it because he gets treats. Now he's jumping up on me, so I'm just going to kind of, this is a little operant conditioning, I become boring. Sit. So when he does something I don't want, I disengaged and just became boring. And then when he got down, I asked him to do something that I wanted. When he did that, I said the marker word of yes, and then I gave him a treat. So that creates a motivation for him to want to do those things. So hand targeting, teaching him, sit down, up, and stand. Maybe you might pull out, every once in a while, maybe every couple hours, maybe pull out a couple of treats and just practice some basic cues that he knows. Just make it a good positive experience. And then it's a little break for you to break from work, and then you go back to work and he's satisfied and he get practice listening to you and be rewarded for doing so. Yes. Okay, so other things we can do is we talked about a lick mat. I would get a lick mat, and I would have the guardian providing him a lick mat, not necessarily every day, but every once in a while, especially if he is left here alone and the other guardian leaves. I would definitely have a lick mat because that's going to make him feel good. It releases those endorphins. We also have a bunch of bully sticks. I'd recommend the guardians have some bully sticks up at their bed because sometimes they like to sleep in a little bit late and he wants to wake up early in the morning. You can pull one of these things out of the drawer, throw it on the ground, and Jack goes and chews it. He's happy. He's tired after he gets done chewing. The guardians get to continue sleeping in on Sunday. Let me see. Other things that you can do. I'd like to have the guardian that is not a dog person feeding Jack. Not only feeding Jack, because the guardians are not commingling all the time. So what I would have the guardian do is bring some of Jack's food, she's going to switch it to a different food. And then basically the guardian who's not a dog person should take a handful of food, rub it between his hands, and put it in a little bag. So let's put your scent on all of his food. So when I eat, I'm reminded of the guardian that is not necessarily a dog person, but I'm creating that positive association with them when I'm at my home and he's not even here. I often do the scent gain introductions and things like that. It's really helpful. You could also do provide him with like a Kong thing and things along those lines. Giving him the bully stick and things along those lines are great ways for him to get a little bit of energy out and give him something he likes to do. These are from our friends over at Best Bully Sticks. These are great because they're natural. They don't have a lot of preservatives. I don't like using rawhides because they have a lot of other stuff in it. And they have a lot of other products, kneecaps, tracheas, cow cheeks, cow ears. Those are all great things for dogs to chew on, and it gives them something to do, keeps them preoccupied. Now, also for fetch, the Guardian plays fetch with him. I would add some Premax to fetch. So when you and the Guardian that he lives with all the time, I would have her actually practicing fetch. So basically, when he brings the ball to her, she should pick it up, say fetch as she throws it. When he goes and gets it, she should quietly pull out a treat. If you pull out a treat too early, he might just drop it and come right over to your treat. And if he does that, you might also get lower level treats. These are a meat treat. You might get a cookie treat, just not milk bones. And then he comes back to you, say yes. When he comes to you, say your marker word. So yes means bring me the ball. And then I hold the treat out. What's he going to do? He's going to drop the ball to get the treat. And then, so I'd probably, when he gets to me, I'd probably hold out the treat. When he drops the ball, I'd say yes and put the treat in his mouth. And then I pick up the ball. And then I might, and I would probably recommend telling him to sit. When he sits, then I throw the ball again. So we're adding in through the fetch, dropping something and building a little trust with you. And then also, if I sit, you're going to throw it and I get to go get it again. So I'm listening to you and good things are happening to me. So the more that I listen to Guardian and good things happen, the more I respect them, the more that I want to listen to them, and the less I'm going to challenge them. Now, what if Jack does get one of those moods and he wants to challenge the Guardian? Well, I would have the Guardian, again, these are tricky trainers, but you can use any sort of treat. Just make sure it's a meat treat, something that's a good value treat. Worst case scenario, if he's really going at it and he's just, he won't let you stand or move, I might just, toss the treat down. If he gets that one, I might tear it in half and throw a couple treats that way. You didn't see that. So I'll go ahead and make sure the dog always looking your direction when you do this. So I'll try to do it like this. And you can throw the treats away. Throwing treats around the room would also not be a bad thing to do. Just keep some treats on your desk. And every once in a while, he comes to the room, just throw a treat on that side of the room and this side of the room for no apparent reason. Well, I come in there and he's just throwing treats around. Man, I like this guy. Now, if he's in that kind of guarding mode, for dogs, front facing is confrontational, sideways is approachable. Behind us, we're kind of defenseless. A lot of times when we turn our back to a dog, that's when they'll come and nip our heels because they feel most confident, and that's the case. So if I want to move away from a dog, I might turn sideways and take a step like a crab, pause. If the dog stays still, take another step, and gradually increase that distance till I get to a certain distance. You're just going to go straight into where the treats are. He's a smarty pants. I don't want to challenge a dog. Dogs do have resource guarding. That's my initial thought, that he was potentially resource guarding in the incidents, but they were so spread out and so inconsistent, I don't think that's the case. I think he might have just been a little possessive and having an off day. So a lot of times when dogs act aggressive, they're trying to get more distance between the dog and whatever it is. Dogs are very front facing. They don't think, I could also go away. So if he's being front facing with you and you throw a treat behind me, well, I got to turn around and go away. What did you just do? You help the dog increase the distance between you and him if that's what, in fact, he didn't like. But you're also giving him motivation to move around the room and things along those lines. One of the treats I like using, I don't have any right here, it's called Charlie Bears with EE, Charlie, C-H-R-L-E-E, bears. They're kind of a cookie treat and they have a shell. So when you throw it, especially on hardwood floors, he's going to hear it. So we also talked about scent games. And Cookie in the Corner is one of the videos, one of the exercises we went over. That might be another thing you do. So if he gets in that guarding mode and you go sit down and you've previously practiced touch, yeah, this is your cue to come over. This is why they say you shouldn't work with dogs and TV. Yes, and then I put that treat there. So if you practice these, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, and he's gotten used to listening to you and being rewarded for you, and you get a little bit in that guarding mode, you're like, hey, let's not do that. Let's do the exercise that gets you a lot of treats. Oh, sure. And I forget that mindset that I'm in, and I'm just happy to engage with you a little bit. And so those are things that you can do. We don't want to punish the dog for doing those things because punishment really doesn't work so well for dogs. In some cases, there was a situation where the Guardians did use a little isolation and it worked for him, but I find that often creates frustration. So I always look for positive ways that we can do things instead of negative, and the Guardians here are on board with that as well. There might also be, if there's a special toy that Jack really likes, that might be a toy that is saved in your desk. So when you get to that point, you can pull out his absolute favorite toy, and again, we're channeling a little bit of that positivity as opposed to something negative. Now, And if you have to extricate yourself, grab some of these meat treats, throw them on the floor across the room, and then extricate yourself out of the other. Or maybe walk out of the room and do a little bit of hand targeting, have him come towards you. If he doesn't, maybe you can just leave and he follows you and you're dropping treats or whatever the case may be, and you get him out of that particular room. He could potentially be guarding the door of the house. That's the only thing that I could kind of think in this regard, that it might be because the office is kind of close to the door and the guardian was gone. I think that there might be a correlation there. But really, it's kind of redirecting, and a lot of it is setting it up for success by practicing at time when he's not in that mood. So he's like, oh, I've done this 50 times. I touch my nose to his hand, I get a treat. And so it's not something where he feels like, if you want to do it once and try to do it, he's like, no, I'm mad at you, or I don't like what you're doing. I'm not going to fall for that banana in the tailpipe sort of thing. So it's really setting him up for success. But all the other things we talked about, feeding him, walking him, if we could do a little bit of training. Training is another nice way to drain energy, but also if we have a mentor, we have a good relationship with that mentor, because usually they help us in part of our life's journey. We have reverence for them. So if the guardian could kind of help, maybe we teach him something and both of you practice teaching him using the marker words and the clicker that we went over earlier. And the more that you also celebrate the things that he does that you like this, yes, I didn't ask him to come, but he came. That's something I like, and I petted him for it. So that just kind of, all these things are creating those positive associations. My goal is these positive associations and these activities that we do proactively prevent any number 4 incident from ever happening again. If it does, like I said, increase the distance by throwing some treats, but try to get him doing some of the activities that he knows and rewarding him for doing those, so he kind of get him out of that mindset. Worst case scenario, if you have to, if he's really going after you, then you just get something that you can put between him and you, like a tennis racket or something like that. But he's not a big aggressive dog, and from what I'm seeing, I think this is just, frankly, I think he's a little bit spoiled, and I think that he just wasn't getting his way, and his mama left him, and so he was kind of taking it out a little bit on a very handsome young man who was taking care of him and watching, holding down the fort. All right, well, this is my little buddy Jack, and these are some tips you can use if you have a dog that doesn't always get along with someone, or if he does challenge them a little bit on alternative methods of redirecting his attention.